We welcome you to the Space City tonight for some Friday night football, where a top six-pointer out west takes center stage. A pair of strong sides to open the year in Houston Dynamo Dos and Colorado Rapids to lock horns here in Houston. We say hello and welcome here to SaberCat Stadium. I'm Sam Goldfarb, thrilled to bring you all of the action tonight between a pair of teams hoping to bounce back, but both find themselves in the top 6 of the Western Conference table entering tonight. It is a gridlocked West, both teams hoping to separate themselves as May progresses here in MLS NEXT Pro. It's time to take a look at our starting lineup, starting with the home side under first-year headman Marcelo Santos. Only one change from the defeat on Sunday against St. Louis City 2. Steven Giamfi rounding out the side up front. No Diego Gonzalez, their top assist provider, and a Next Pro Best 11 selection in 2024. He is out for the second consecutive match, and then it is a 5-back tonight, a change from what was listed as a 4-3-3 at the weekend. So that's your look at Houston, a side with tons of talent. They'll be hoping to put it together going forward once again here at home. On the other side of things, for Eric Boucher's bunch, a team that is coming off a heartbreaking defeat in LA at the weekend, it is 4 changes, including some changes on the front line and in the midfield. Sam Bassett returning to the side after a 1-match absence, and that allows Alex Harris to move into his natural striker role. The center forward scoring last week from the spot against LAFC 2. He gets a chance to play in his natural role, the 4th overall pick in 2025 MLS Super Draft. You had in the back as well, no Josh Balluz, conceded 2 penalties last week, so Sinanu fills in the void in the heart of defense alongside Charlie Harper. That's your look at Colorado's 11, grappling with some injuries as well. We will get those to you as the match progresses here. But it sets the stage for what should be an enthralling clash between two teams that have opened the year in tremendous veins of form. And when you contrast it to last season, with Colorado, of course, finishing last in the West, and Houston Dynamo Dos sputtering out of the gate before a late season surge powered them into the playoffs, it is very intriguing. Two teams that are back to the high standards they regularly set for themselves in the Next Pro ranks, and they square off once again in a battle with far more top-of-table aspirations in effect. Our officiating crew for tonight, Luis Arroyo, our head official, Ricardo Ocampo, and Jacob Harold, his assistants. William Hale, the 4th official tonight. Well, for Houston, coming off the heartbreak against St. Louis City 2, they fell 3-1 in a match where they battled back and then were pegged back right away in the early stages of the second half. For Colorado, a number of responses after falling behind on 2 separate occasions, but the third time proved to be the decisive blow in that 3-2 defeat in Fullerton at the weekend. You see Colorado in their away white kits with the maroon numbers. They'll be going from right to left on your screen. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Houston, their classic home orange with the white numbers going from left to right. We await Luis Arroyo's signal to get things underway here from SaberCat Stadium. A pair of teams hoping to potentially climb atop the West by the end of the evening. A Houston 3 points would go a long way to doing that. Colorado 3 points would establish some comfort as they look down at the postseason places below them. And underway here from SaberCat Stadium, Houston and Colorado locking horns for the first time this season. We welcome you in. Sam Goldfarb bringing you all of the action. We mentioned Houston's frustration, just their second defeat in 6 matches. On Sunday, they have to turn it around now in a short week at home against an equally hungry Rapids 2 side. There's your look at the man between the sticks for Rapids 2, Zach Campagnolo. He's been the mainstay whenever available. 18 years of age, someone who draws regular praise from Eric Boucher. There's Rodriguez, the lone goal scorer last week for Dynamo Dos. In a tussle with Harper, and overzealous in his quest to win it back. Well, we've alluded to the Fullerton fiasco, so to speak, for Colorado Springs on Sunday. Excuse me, for Colorado on Sunday. It was a frustrating affair, cagey for most of the first half, and then fell behind on a very controversial penalty kick that many would dispute. But Eric Boucher said he was extremely proud of his side's response. Malik Pinto weaving through the defense to level the scoreline and change the tenor of the team talk at halftime. And then it became a game of cat and mouse in the second. Caught out, managed to peg him back, and then in the 79th minute, the decisive penalty to seal things on a much less disputable handball. Here's this look over the top to Harris. It was a decent first touch, but into the gloves of the reigning goalkeeper of the month in Next Pro and Pedro Cruz. It's one back upfield. Garcia was looking for Harris. Comes all the way through to Kamani Stewart Baines, the first teamer. And finally, cleared out of trouble by Isaac Mwakatuya. Anthony Garcia. And out for a goal kick. Well, you get your look at Pedro Cruz, 21 years of age, joining Houston Dynamo Dos from the Brazilian 4th tier on February 26th. And he has been the go-to option when available this season. Only one clean sheet to his name, but is 3rd in Next Pro in saves at the moment. And throughout April, went unbeaten as part of a Houston team that surged through that month and established itself firmly in the top places of the West. Batioja tried for goal, right into the path of Campagnolo, though. And the Batioja has flashed some danger. This, he just surges through the entire defense, and Sinanu doing just enough to force him wide. I've been talking to first-year headman Marcelo Santos about Pedro Cruz. He says he's extremely athletic and he fits the mold of a terrific goalkeeper. Sunday was his first defeat between the sticks for Dynamo Dos. The other two matches in which they lost were not his responsibility between the sticks. He's done an excellent job preserving advantages or keeping Houston in matches whenever he started. Arzu. Excellent link up, and Arzu gives chase. Known for his pace and sent tumbling by Harper. And a no question booking for him this early on. Charlie Harper, the first man in the book, a cynical challenge, but one that does the job. You see Arzu has him beaten for pace by a country mile. It is the simple tug on the shirt which earns him recognition from our referee. It's a big point of emphasis for Eric Boucher, controlling the pace on the flanks. It's not just Arzu, it's Batioja on the other side as well.
Number 37, Charlie.
This is a team that can overwhelm you on the wings. As Enrique Correa, the 18-year-old academy product, will deliver this set piece. Taken short. Rodriguez. And the follow-up cross is rather underwhelming. Turnover by Stuart Baines. And this is Josh Bolma, the former 4th overall pick in 2023 by New England Revolution. This is a Dynamo side that is quite young. In fact, last week set the record in MLS NEXT Pro for the youngest average age of a starting 11. It was 18.5 years of age. And there is high emphasis on development. They love to bring their academy players through to get early season experience with the second team. Very few, as this long-range effort sails wide, very few homegrown second-team players. A lot of the younger players are academy lads, as you see this effort from Isaac Mwakatuya driven well wide of Campagnolo's goal. There's a heavy emphasis on getting these younger players live reps in the early stages of their development. NEXT Pro, of course, providing a clear-cut pathway for that. Anorgiamfi. It's ushered wide to the Honduran Exxon Arzu. Will be interesting to see how this prolific Dynamo Dos attack, one that has scored 16 goals already through 8 league matches, fares without its creative talisman in Diego Gonzalez, who led the league in assists a year ago with 10. And was off to a tremendous start before missing Sunday. Marcelo Santos saying it has to be by committee, realistically. Although he named Exxon Arzu and Andy Batioja as 2 players who could really step up in his stead. So far, we've definitely seen 7 in orange, quite involved. Well, if you are just joining us, just shy of 10 minutes gone from SaberCats Stadium, also home of the Houston SaberCats in Major League Rugby. It is Dynamo Dos and Colorado Rapids 2 meeting for the first time this year. 2 teams met 3 times. Rapids 2, despite their really rocky 2024 campaign, won 2 of the 3. Issues clearing here for Houston. This is Stuart Baines. It off to Bassett, who is known for his long-range prowess. Stuart Baines wins it back. Weaving through traffic, an excellent effort that just whistles wide. Well, this is Kamani Stuart Baines' quality on full display. The Canadian just takes this off the defender, deletes 3 defenders, including Sebastian Rodriguez. And he's just unable to nestle it in that near post, but he certainly had Pedro Cruz scrambling. When talking to Eric Boucher, he mentioned the importance of having a bigger share of the possession this week. Against LA, he said for the bulk of that first half, we didn't execute the way we wanted to. And while he was proud of the immediate response after falling behind on that controversial penalty, he said we really took the game over a bit better in the second half, and you could have argued we were the better team. This is against a Houston team that is so dynamic in possession and has all of the talent on the flanks, not to mention Anorgiamfi running through the middle. There is high emphasis on having a bigger share of the ball because in that regard, possession is your best defense. So far, we've definitely seen Houston press the issue more in these opening 10 minutes, but that's to be expected from any side of their quality at home. Amadou looking over the top for Rapids too. Pinto looking through to Harris. He's through on goal. Cruz does well to close down the angle. And finally, the whistle sounds against Rogelio Garcia. Excuse me, Anthony Garcia. You get a look back at this chance. Best look of the match for either team. A tremendous through ball. And it just takes Harris a little wide, which allows the time for Cruz to recover. But Colorado throwing warning shots in the early stages here. They are best known for their attacking transitions and extreme pressing out of possession. Not quite a mirror image of Houston, but both teams want to possess the ball and they want to break quickly. So it sets the stage for two teams that could probably play a pretty open affair as this wears on and tired legs especially begin to set in. And the visitors have looked game so far. Batioja ushering it wide to Bulma. And still Bulma. Comes loose to Batioja again. And now Arzu. Dancing through defenders. Arzu's cross. Stabbed away by Harper. And only as far as Mwakatuya. And finally the whistle sounds after a Rapids player was left on the pitch after that challenge. Looked to be a clash of heads, and the visiting player got the worst of it. Well, it is Dauda Amadou, the man donning the captain's armband tonight, who's just a bit slow to get up. The first team signee who spent 3 seasons in the Rapids 2 fold. First couple years he was on loan from the Czech top flight. Now he's a full-time member of Colorado's organization and just getting the attention from the physios now. Just looked like a nasty coming together here, and that's exactly what it was. It's that follow through on Daniel Barrett's challenge. No fault of Barrett's, of course. And Amadou is still hoping to shake that off. When you look at the tail of the tape of this match, we've mentioned the very high octane attacks. In fact, both teams separated by just 1 goal in goal scoring. It is 16 for Houston, 15 for Rapids 2. The defenses, though, can be susceptible at times. I think the numbers are a bit inflated for Rapids 2 this early in the year, because when you talk to Eric Boucher, he's very pleased with how they defend out of possession in their mid-block. Says very few teams play through us. But of course, 2 penalties will do the job on you. And that was unfortunately the case last week. Just hoping for a positive response on a short week. Amadou's back into the fold now. Stuart Baines. Right into the legs of Barrett. And Arzu sent tumbling. The referee will come back to that challenge. Amadou now receiving a talking to from our official. Amadou. Well, important to note for Colorado, it is not just Anderson Hossa missing his second straight match. Steve Flores also out for the time being tonight. So two key defenders, two of their first choice fullbacks out. For Houston, of course, grappling with the absence of Gonzalez as previously mentioned as well. So neither side has their full complement of starters available to them at the moment. Arzu is certainly one of the headliners for Houston, though. Stuart Baines is sent to the deck by Barrett. Nearing the 20-minute mark here from SaberCat Stadium, just 8 miles outside downtown Houston. Sam Goldfarb bringing you all of the action in a battle of high-octane attacks. Rapids 2 and Dynamo Dos. As things stand, not as open as previously expected. Both teams feeling each other out, not overcommitting to their pressure. And I think it is because of the knowledge of their opponents' dominance in attacking transitions. Of course, that is Rapids 2's bread and butter. It's one of the first thing Eric Boucher mentions whenever you ask him about his desired play style. In Houston, we know about the pace on the flank, so it has set the stage for a slightly more tentative start by both squads. Not wanting to compromise too much out of possession. Here's Cameron. He's looking through for Harris and right into the gloves of Cruz. Correa. It's snatched back. It is a unique contrast with these two teams to their previous year's rendition. And obviously Next Pro sides change with regularity from year to year. There's of course an emphasis on development in this league, and while winning is a priority of these coaches, they also want to see their younger players succeed and crack the first team. or other MLS outfits throughout the league. I mentioned Houston's slow start, a team that last season frankly struggled, winless in their first 6 matches, and it took gradual improvement over the course of the year to put themselves in the playoff conversation. And well, they managed to go on a late season surge and find their way into the postseason before falling in the Western Conference quarterfinals. But what's so interesting about them was, despite finishing 8th, they avoided the top 2 teams in the pick your opponent system. Nobody wanted to play Houston because of just how hot they were. There's Harris for Colorado Rapids too. Bassett's unable to keep that build alive. It was a very nervy affair for their eventual postseason opponents, the Town. Houston went in front. Sebastian Rodriguez opened the scoring, and then ultimately they were undone twice after the restart to fall 2-1. Perhaps the team seated above the Town were correct to avoid picking Dynamo Dos. On the other side for Rapids too, we've spoken about the struggles of last season. A team that, following a first place finish in the West in 2023, lost a lot of those key contributors to the first team and otherwise, and managed just 31 points in 24 matches. They were 15 points off playoff pace a year ago. This season resurgent. 4 wins from their first 7, and sitting 6th in the Western Conference entering tonight, with a chance to surge into the top 3 depending on results elsewhere. With coaches in rather pleasant spirits when we were able to catch up with them this week. Jaden Puna playing it through, and Enorgianfi is well offside. It was not a poor idea, and Enorgianfi has goal scorer's instincts dating back to his 1 year at Virginia, but it appears he timed that a bit prematurely. Anthony Garcia scored a brace against this Dynamo Dos side in June of last year. Arzu. And some space to run now, and that he does right at Chantak. 17-year-old fullback did rather well. And does concede the match's first corner 25 minutes in. Will be Correa to take, their designated set piece taker. There's Bulma in the nearby vicinity. Right, without swing to the near post. It nearly found its way to the waiting Betancourt. Instead cleared only as far as Daniel Barrett. Definitely got Rapids 2's attention though. Rodriguez. Barrett again, the 16-year-old center back who has developed into a regular starter with Dynamo Dos this year. Puna. Betancourt. Snatched back here. And a brilliant ball through to Stuart Baines. Flag stays down for now. Hunting Jaden Chantak. Late intervention does the job. You see Rapids too continuing to twist the screws, and they are so lethal when they pick it up in transition. Pinto really picked out the oncoming Alex Harris. Batioha, and the flag is raised. We approach the half-hour mark. Business end of this first half beckons, and very few clear-cut chances of note, aside from Alex Harris being denied on a one-on-one about 15 minutes ago from a very tight angle. Both goalkeepers with rather little to do. The heightened emphasis on defensive solidity has ruled the night so far. Batioha hoping to change that. Now Correa. Out wide to Batioha. Rodriguez. Correa tries from afar. Throws it wide of that far post. It's decent interplay this. You see Batioha and Correa on the same wavelength. He tries to wrap his boot around this, and he doesn't fully curl it properly. Instead flops out of play for a harmless goal kick. Compared to last week, you've got to figure Campagnolo not complaining about having rather little to do. He was a busy man on Sunday in the defeat in Fullerton. He is known for his shot stopping though, and he's built a strong rapport with his back line. He speaks about how that's a major point of emphasis. Says off the pitch, we befriend one another, we get close with one another, but on a pitch it is about blunt honesty. And we don't take offense to it. It is about clearly communicating instructions and making sure that we are all in the right places at the right times. Campagnolo a big part of that arrangement with his teammates. Anthony Garcia. And an overzealous tackle from Betancourt. Chantak. There's no oncoming runner there. If you are just joining us, we welcome you to SaberCats Stadium, also the home of the Houston SaberCats in rugby team, in the local Houston area. We're just 3 miles from NRG Park, where NRG Stadium is 8 miles from downtown Houston. What has been a tremendous venue and a terrific host for Dynamo Dos since their inaugural campaign. It's a venue that seats about 4,000. Here tonight, lovely weather in the high 70s. Much cooler than you would expect for an early May night in Houston. Pinto looks wide for the 17-year-old Chen Tak, who's making just his second professional start. Someone who Eric Boucher says has looked on the pace of it so far, despite being rather inexperienced. Rodriguez. Just able to win a throw for Houston. You see the frustration from Steven Anorgiamfi, who's been on an island for large parts of tonight. That's the risk of a 5-back with a midfield that has to drop in on occasion. You risk leaving your front man isolated, and Anorgiamfi has not been as involved as I'm sure Marcelo Santos and company would have hoped. Still plenty of time to change that, and we've seen a few dangerous runs, but so far Colorado has marshaled his presence well. Now starting to grow confident in possession. Sinanu. This is James Cameron. Harper roaming forward. Chen Tak. Shrugged off it by Arzu. You see Marcelo Santos and company barking out instructions on the touchline. First-year head coach with experience in the New England Revolution developmental system as well as the second team. Spent 7 years with the Revolution, was a first-team assistant, a second-team assistant, as well as coaching in the academy. He's gained so much valuable experience and now looking to put it all together as a head coach for the first time. Here's Chen Tak looking for Stuart Baines. Decent ball to the back stick, but no one in white to greet it. Bolma. A heavy touch. Marcelo Santos has enjoyed plenty of success wherever he's been, be it, of course, during his 7 years with New England, a key part of Revolution 2's first ever postseason berth as an assistant back in 2023. Also spent a lot of time on the Marquette coaching staff and was part of a coaching staff that won Big East Staff of the Year in 2011. It's not to mention the pair of NCAA tournaments he achieved as a Golden Eagle as well. You see him on the touchline on right in front of your screen at the moment. His opposite number, who you saw moments ago, Eric Boucher's in his 4th year, and he's enjoyed a little bit more of a proven track record as a head coach. 2023 Next Pro Coach of the Year. It was a dangerous ball towards Anorgiamfi, and once again he is offside to his frustration. In the final 10 minutes of this first half, still await our first legitimate opportunity for either of these two sides. Colorado's had a couple more glaring chances, but nothing that has jumped off the page dramatically just yet. Pinto playing it through just behind Harris, who was offside anyways. It's got to be a new adjustment for Alex Harris, who despite playing striker with regularity in college, and mind you, scoring at a ridiculous clip during his 2 years at Cornell, he's begun his pro career as an attacking mid. And talking to him this week, he's mentioned how that's been an adjustment, but also says in a way it's allowed him to manipulate the game more. There's more emphasis on me getting on the ball and creating service for myself and my teammates rather than being dependent on others to play the ball to me. Of course, a first-team player that was drafted 4th overall in this year's Super Draft, grappling with all those expectations, has taken it as an opportunity to become more versatile, but now he is dependent on service from his counterparts, and so far, aside from 1 to 2 half chances, nothing much across his plate. Of course, when you have Sam Bassett in behind you, you can expect to receive some quality chances over the course of the 90 minutes. Amadou. This is Stuart Baines with numbers. Chantak, early cross in. It nearly fell for Harris. Instead smashed away. Still promise from Rapids too. Bassett gets it back from Chantak and just overcooked. Another really promising spell of build-up. You see Chantak on the overlap. He hits this cross first time, and Harris did get his boots to it, but unfortunately, he was surrounded by orange kits, so no real chance to put that on frame. Either way, Colorado continuing to grow into the match. Cameron now. Anthony Garcia deletes one defender. High arcing ball. So far, resolute has been the word to describe Houston's defense. A welcome response from a side that, according to Marcelo Santos, didn't execute in the key moments on Sunday. Says for the bulk of this year, we've done that to perfection, but we were caught out on a number of occasions, and of course, both second half goals occurring either directly or indirectly off giveaways against the press. Here tonight, they've minimized their mistakes building out of the back. Bassett. Anthony Garcia with room on the far side. Looking for Stuart Baines. Bassett. Stuart Baines, a clever first touch. Cutting it back for Harris. Laid it off to Bassett. And still Sam Bassett! Narrowly whistling it beyond the far post. But that a major chance for Colorado before the break. It's excellent interplay. It came from the clever touch from Stuart Baines, and Harris's back passes just forces Sam Bassett to re-alter his steps, and it was a very difficult effort that nearly snuck into the far corner. Has been a very strong first half for Colorado. We mentioned Eric Boucher's emphasis on possessing, creating more as a way to take some of the game changers on this Houston side out of the match. And that they have done so far. Now it's about finding reflection on the score sheet. And I'm sure the Rapids 2 coaching staff will be desperately hoping for that before intermission. Halftime is not coming at the wrong time for Houston. That's definitely one way to put it. Harper. Chantak. Stuart Baines again. An excellent run, cuts it inside to Bassett. Falls for Harris! Right at Cruz. The chance quality just grows with each passing minute. It's an underlap from Chantak, who picks out Bassett well. He does excellently to usher it to Harris. That's tremendous technique that, unfortunately for him, goes right at the waiting Pedro Cruz, who was at his mercy for a matter of moments. Stuart Baines. Lost it before he could whip it in. You just wonder that if this gets to halftime, if that man on your screen, Eric Boucher, will be a little disappointed his side doesn't have a goal. It's been such a promising display. And after Houston opened the match pretty rapidly, they've had very little of note in the opposing third. Anthony Garcia wins it back. And still Garcia. It was closed down instantly by Jaden Puna. Cameron now, spaced across. Wakatuya, and then cleaned up by Correa. It is an unrelenting onslaught at the moment from Colorado. Final 90 seconds of the initial 45 minutes. All eyes will be on the fourth official in a matter of moments. A first half that has featured very few stoppages so far. Arzu. Finally, a chance for Houston to just relieve some of the pressure. Right into the path of Bassett now. And dances past one. Numbers for Colorado. Anthony Garcia's onside. A terrific recovery in the end, though, by Betancourt. Chantak. Bassett. Bassett and Stuart Baines have run the run of play the last 20 minutes or so. Batioja gives chase the other direction. Word, it will just be 1 minute of added time that separates us from halftime. And as things stand, Colorado seizing control of the run of play. But a precious goal from that first half may just elude them.
Have your attention, please. The fourth official on the sideline has indicated there will be a minimum of 1 minute added. 1 minute added to the first half.
Perhaps time for one final sojourn forward for Rapids 2. Anorgiamfi has some support as well. Stephen Anorgiamfi right into the path of Sinanu. Out to Arzu now, closing in on that minute of stoppage time. And there is the halftime whistle.
That concludes the
Well, it was
first
a
half.
strong display from the visitors in the first half and a number of chances that went begging. But on the scoreline, which is all that matters, it's still knotted at 0-0. Dynamo Dos finding themselves on the back foot for large spells of that first half at home, but nothing to show for it for their visiting counterparts on the score sheet. Our score at the half is Dynamo Dos 0, Rapids 2-0. Highlight stats in this week's report are coming up after this break. Stick with us.
If I got it, then I bought it. Take a bite, 'cause I want it. And I know I got the taste for the cake. And I take what I make and I flaunt it, flaunt it. Got diamonds on my necklace. I live how I like. So looks is getting reckless. I'm feeling myself and you can't break my vibe. I'm feeling myself and you can't break my vibe. You can't break my vibe. You can't break my vibe.
Action.
I know I'm fully attracted. I'm hanging on like a fridge to a magnet. It's a jigsaw with all the right pieces. You and me, we go good together. You and I go good together. You and I, we go good together. We go good together.
We welcome you back from SaberCat Stadium, where at halftime the score between Dynamo Dos and Rapids 2 is 0-0. We will have first half highlights and a little later, but first, Anne-Marie Aguilar went to North Carolina to visit with Carolina Core. She sat down with head coach Donovan Ricketts, and here is this week's Coach's Corner.
Welcome to this episode of Coach's Corner. I'm April Marie Aguilar, and today I'll be talking to Carolina Core FC's head coach, Donovan Ricketts. How are you doing today, Coach?
I'm good. You?
I am doing great. Thank you so much. Well, it is your first season as head coach of Carolina Core FC. What has this experience been like for you?
Gray hairs, headaches. So as a player, I didn't know that players give head coaches this much stress, or else I would have been a better player.
Oh my goodness, I love the honesty.
No, but it's fun. It's fun. It's like, it's the job, the game that we grew up playing. So now to be on the other side, it's an experience. It's a different kind of experience, but it's not much of a drastic change because it's still the same game.
When did you know that coaching was something you wanted to pursue?
I didn't know. I think coaching found me rather than I found coaching.
Oh.
Because if you ask anybody that I played the game with, no one would think of me as a head coach, because I would just be, once practice is done, that's me just being done. But then after I started to get older, and then it just, I don't know, maybe from the years of experience, you just started talking the game a bit more, and then you said, I didn't know I had all this knowledge.
And well, you played alongside some of the biggest names in soccer, like Landon Donovan, David Beckham. What is something that you learned during your time with them that now you find yourself applying into your coaching career?
No, I wouldn't say just from them, but when you play with a certain caliber of players, the thing that I found most was those players were always the humble players. They were always humble, hardworking, so they put extra time in to ensure that they were the best at what they could be. So now it's just the message you send to every player that you have. It's like you have the ability, but sometimes in order to be the best or to be the greatest, you have to put extra work in.
And you've been with this team since its inaugural season. What does it mean to you to have been with this organization from the very beginning?
No, because when I played, I was with Montreal. I was with them for their inaugural season as well. So I was with Orlando for their inaugural season as well. So I think I'm a inaugural season journeyman, so to speak.
We love that.
So it's always a good experience. You see something from the very inception to see what it can grow into. So it's a good experience.
That's phenomenal. And last year, this team just missed the playoffs. But now, as the leader of this team, what are your expectations for this season?
No, definitely we want to make the playoffs because everything that we did last year, we want to improve on everything that we did last year. And making the playoffs would be a step in that direction as well. And then once you hit the playoffs, anything is possible because when we start the season, everybody dreams of winning the championship. So you don't get that chance if you don't make the playoffs. Our goal is to make the playoffs first.
Well, Coach, best of luck to you this season. And thank you once again.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Coach's Corner. Be sure to tune in next time to see who I'll be chatting with. For now, I'm April Marie Aguilar. We'll see you next time.
If I got it, then I bought it. Take a bite, cause I want it. And I know I got the taste for the cake. And I take what I make and I flaunt it, flaunt it. Got diamonds on my necklace. I live how I like. So looks it's getting reckless. I'm feeling myself and you can't break my vibe. I'm feeling myself and you can't break my vibe. You can't break my vibe. You can't break my vibe.
Action!
I know I'm fully attracted. I'm hanging on like a fridge to a magnet. The jigsaw with all the right pieces. You and me, we go good together. You and I go good together. You and I, we go good together. We go good together.
We welcome you back to Houston here for Friday Night Footy at halftime. Dynamo Dos and Rapids 2 knotted at 0-0. We will look ahead to the league's upcoming schedule in a moment, but first, on her visit to the Carolina Core, Anne-Marie Aguilar had a chance to sit down and meet with Facundo Canete and files this week's player profile.
Hola y muchas gracias por acompañarnos hoy en este nuevo episodio de Player Profile. Mi nombre es April Marie Aguilar y hoy tengo el gran placer de poder platicar con Facundo Canete de Carolina Core FC. ¿Qué tal, Facundo? ¿Cómo estás hoy?
Buenas tardes, muy bien, gracias a Dios. ¿Cómo están ustedes?
Yo estoy muy bien, gracias a Dios. Bueno, ¿qué ha significado para ti, ya siendo que has estado aquí con Carolina Core FC desde el comienzo?
No, la verdad, para mí una experiencia muy linda. Empezar en el primer año en el equipo y no, muy bien, la verdad.
Y tus estadísticas el año pasado fueron bastante impresionantes. Aparte, fuiste nombrado mención de honor en el top 11 de MLS NEXT Pro. ¿Qué podemos esperar de ti esta temporada?
No, la temporada pasada, gracias a Dios, me fue muy bien. Gracias a mi compañero, el trabajo que hicimos en el año. Y este año esperar lo mismo, tratar de superarme en los goles, en asistencia y poder ayudar lo máximo posible al grupo.
Y el año pasado estuvieron muy cerca de clasificar a los playoffs. Como equipo, ¿cuáles son las expectativas que ustedes tienen para esta temporada?
Sí, el año pasado nos quedamos a 2 puntos de clasificar. Lastimosamente perdimos el último partido, pero bueno, este año vamos con muchas ganas y el objetivo de clasificar a playoff.
Y tienen un nuevo entrenador, Donovan Ricketts, a quien fue asistente el año pasado. ¿Cómo piensas tú que te ha ayudado a desarrollarte con tu tiempo aquí en Carolina Core FC?
No, la verdad muy bien. Gracias a Dios estamos entendiendo lo que quiere, lo que transmite el entrenador, así que estamos haciendo lo posible para sacar los partidos adelante.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias, Facundo, te lo agradezco.
Gracias.
Bueno, pues hemos terminado este episodio de Player Profile. No se lo pierdan a la próxima para ver con quién estaré conversando. Por ahora soy April Marie Aguilar y nos vemos a la próxima.
Should be a fun season of MLS Next Pro. Oh my! Pedrinho wins it! Action!
If I got it, then I bought it. Take a bite, cause I want it. And I know I got the taste for the cake. And I take what I make and I flaunt it, flaunt it. Got diamonds on my necklace. I live how I like. So it looks it's getting reckless. I'm feeling myself and you can't break my vibe. I'm feeling myself and you can't break my vibe. You can't break my vibe. You can't break my vibe.
Welcome back to Houston. At halftime, no score between Dynamo Dos and Colorado Rapids 2 at SaberCats. A first half that didn't feature a ton of action, but Colorado started to press the issue in the late stages. It's time to look at our first half highlights. It was a promising start for Houston on Dibatioja dribbling through a couple defenders, and then on the edge of the area here, Mwakatuya had a hit from afar, but after this, it really became one-way traffic to Colorado. Kamani Stewart-Baines began to take the match over in the midway point of the first half. You also saw Alex Harris getting involved, just taken a bit wide by this vertical ball. This was the only really positive chance from Dynamo Dos after the first 10 minutes. They had this long ball to an Orgiamfi that was offside anyways. And then Stewart-Baines and Chantak really started to link up. This cross to Alex Harris was magnificent. Alex Harris just unable to turn it in. And then also Sam Bassett had a pop before the break, just whistling this beyond the far post in the 40th minute. And right before halftime as well, Bassett to Harris again. This their best chance, but fired right at Pedro Cruz. Looking at the first half stats, I think it will tell a good share of the story. Colorado Rapids 2 more shots on goal. Even had a possessional edge towards the tail end of that first half, but the biggest issue has been neither side clinical with their chances or able to properly test their opposing keeper. Pedro Cruz has had a little bit of work to do for Houston, but most of the efforts have come right at him. Meanwhile, Campagnolo, nothing to really deal with between his sticks. Just 3 combined shots on goal. We're hoping things can open up for both teams in the second. Look at the upcoming schedule here throughout MLS Next Pro. On Saturday, 1 match, Carolina Core back at home at Truist Point, and then 2 matches on Sunday. We have a really dispersed match week here. Ventura County and Austin FC 2 squaring off after El Trafichico tonight for at BCFC, and then New York hosting Toronto, and as you head further down, a battle between Huntsville and Chattanooga rounds out the upcoming week on May 17th. Should be a very exciting week of Next Pro action to come up in the near future. We're just about set to get things going again here in the second half. Dynamo Dos found itself on the back foot at the tail end of the opening 45 minutes. they'll be hoping to rectify things against a Rapids 2 side that is growing with confidence with each passing minute. See Rapids 2 taking the pitch once again. Not much for that man, Zach Campagnolo, to do, the 18-year-old. I'm sure he'd prefer to keep it that way, as Colorado hoping to bounce back from its defeat at the weekend. They look the more likely to do so at halftime, but 0-0. That's why we play the matches, and you really never know how games in this league, especially a very jam-packed Western Conference, will unfold. Houston entering tonight, 3 wins in its last 4. It won 3 straight before falling to St. Louis. Rapids 2, 4 wins in the last 6. They were excellent in April. We've mentioned the frustration that was associated with that LA result on Sunday. We're hoping that they can make it 5 from 7 and put themselves back on track for a potential spot in the top 4 come the end of the evening. It is so tight in the West. When you look at the table, 4 different teams level on 15 points. Tacoma only first on goal difference over Houston, and then Ventura County and the defending Western Conference champions North Texas round out the top 4. But Rapids 2 only 2 points off the pace. 3 points for the visitors could completely change the trajectory of the Western Conference, at least through this point in the season. It will be Dynamo Dos to get us back underway. They'll be going right to left on your screen. Colorado going left to right. As we just await Luis Arroyo's signal, it is still all to play for here at SaberCats. Back underway here from Houston. Will it be the visitors bouncing back and climbing into the top places in the Western Conference? Or is it Houston Dynamo Dos that will push on and potentially nab the top spot out west by the end of the evening? Sam Goldfarb bringing you all of the action for these remaining 45 and beyond. Of course, if we're level, a penalty shootout would await to determine who achieves an additional point in the Western Conference standings, but we are a long way from that becoming a reality. Here's Andy Batioja, a lively presence in the first half. A back heel to Correa, and Enor Giamfi, a rare involvement, but rather tame for Campagnolo to cope with. Well, not much for 51 in the dark goalkeeper kit. 18 years of age, a native of Fort Myers, who made the move to Colorado to join the Rapids Academy. And it's paid dividends. Signed with the second team in March, a contract that will become a first-team deal in a couple years' time. He's mentioned how he's learned so much from the loaded goalkeeper room in Colorado, specifically Zach Steffen, who's been a mentor to a lot of young talent throughout this Rapids 2 squad. In fact, when talking to Alex Harris this week, he mentioned that Zach Steffen has been a mentor to him, just coping with the mental block of obviously not cracking the first team despite your high draft pick. And Alex Harris has taken the second team as an opportunity to continue to develop and learn new positions. He says Zach Steffen's been a valuable resource in keeping his head screwed on and keeping him focused on the ultimate goal in his rookie season. Beaumont is looking through for Enor Giamfi. Back to Campagnolo. Harris, he saw his involvement grow considerably as the first half evolved. If you are just joining us, we welcome you into Houston. We're 8 miles outside downtown in the Space City SaberCats Stadium, the home of the Houston SaberCats in Major League Rugby. Stadium that's been in effect since 2019. Seats about 4,000 and see on your screen, decently populated tonight with some ardent supporters of Dynamo Does. Not quite the 13,000 they played in front of at St. Louis on Sunday, but still a decent turnout for this match. Pinto in a tussle with Arzu, and the former wins that battle. Anthony Garcia, and now Bassett. Pinto again. And looking for the return ball to Bassett, and it was read well by Rodriguez. Betancourt. Correa. Shirt wide now to Batioja. This is Arzu. Low cross. It's deflected and charged away by Cameron. One thing that really impressed me about Rapids 2 in that first half is how they took Arzu and Batioja largely out of the match. Exxon Arzu, already 3 goals to his name. He's been so dangerous since joining initially on loan from the Honduran top flight last spring. So much so that he earned a first-team contract in August of last year. But here tonight, rather little to do in possession. And Colorado's defensive transitions have been excellent. They've managed to do all of that while dominating the lion's share of the possession and chances in the final 25 minutes of that opening half. So, infused with confidence as this is worn on. Here's a terrific switch towards Cameron, one that is slightly overcooked. James Cameron getting a somewhat infrequent start tonight in place of Steve Flores, who's out with a bit of a nagging injury. Cameron, 20 years old, a native of Canada. A few Canucks on this Rapids 2 roster. Here's one of those in Stuart Baines. And Shantak. Able to thread it through to Pinto. Rodriguez. And this is Arzu. Still trying to force his way on it. Harris. Plenty of space to roam. He's a delicious ball to Anthony Garcia. Scored a brace on this very ground last June against Dynamo Does. Amadou. Garcia again. Can't keep it in play for Cameron. Well, he was a busy boy at the tail end of that first half, Pedro Cruz. Nothing glaring aside from the one Bassett chance and the one Harris chance, both of which were shot directly at him. And he's at least had to keep his head on a swivel. It was unrelenting pressure for an extended period of time from Colorado, one which mirrored the pressure that LA put on them on Sunday. They've clearly taken Eric Boucher's message about controlling the match more to heart this week. And part of that, of course, may be due to the absence of Gonzalez, who was the creative talisman of this Dynamo Dos side before being dropped from the side due to injury last week. He will be out few more, at least that's what the coaching staff expects, although no concrete decision just yet on that. It's not something that should linger too long. Attack to Stuart Baines. Deflected cross right in the gloves of Pedro Cruz. Bolma. Delicious touch past Amadou. And this is Batioja, the Colombian. Stood up by Cameron. It's been a decent spell to begin the second for Dynamo Dos. Batioja's ball through, Anor Giamfi running, and ultimately Campagnolo off his line quickly to claim. But the flag stayed down that time for Anor Giamfi, who's starting to time his runs a bit better. Here's Bassett. One of the Mac Hermann Trophy finalists this past fall with Denver. And continues his run. It's just beyond his reach. When you look at this Colorado side, it is just loaded with class. And that's not to take anything away from Houston. They've got plenty of talent themselves. Up front especially, Alex Harris, someone who was Ivy League co-offensive player of the year this past fall at Cornell. Then you've got Bassett in right behind him, who was a Rapids Academy graduate that excelled in his 4 seasons at Denver and helped guide them to the Final Four this past year. There's a nice blend of youth and experience throughout this side, and not even at full strength tonight. There's Bolma, though, the other way. And now Batioja. He's no slouch himself. Jaden Puna. Sebastian Rodriguez. Arzu. Hunting Rodriguez. He was shielded off it by Harper. Kamani Stuart Baines again. He wanted Anthony Garcia. Giamfi comes up limping after that challenge from Sinanu. And that is not an ideal sight if you're a Dynamo Dos supporter. First round pick by Houston in last year's MLS Super Draft, and someone who's proven so dangerous going forward as the center forward. Hearing word that one change is beckoning for Colorado Rapids 2. Anthony Garcia, the man set to vacate. He reportedly will be replaced by Josh Copeland, the Detroit Mercy product. Still await that change. Betancourt plays it through to Batioja, who awaits reinforcements. Puna curling it towards the back post. Bashed away by Amadou. Well, that change will take place now, it seems. So Anthony Garcia had moments of promise, nothing glaring though, and he makes way just shy of the hour mark. Replaced by the 19-year-old Josh Copeland, who was picked 26th overall by Colorado Rapids in the MLS Super Draft this past year. Has been a regular super sub for Colorado Rapids 2 this season. Still awaits his first professional goal, though. If he gets it here, it may be a result-defining tally. So he spent 2 years at Detroit Mercy and was Horizon League third-team selection this past fall. A sneaky, difficult league, the Horizon League, especially in college soccer. An overzealous challenge by Copeland in his first involvement. Well, there are a wealth of options off the bench for both sides. Jordi Burbano stands out for Dynamo Dos. Right now, it seems they've got Lucas Brugman off the bench. He himself has provided some punch going forward. And of course, we know about Rapids too. Mamadou Bilo Diop, someone who has drawn major praise from Eric Boucher and the coaching staff these last few weeks. Also, Colton Swan sits on the bench tonight too. He had a pair of goals against this Dynamo Dos side a year ago. Bassett snatches this back. And now Pinto. Is it off for Kamani Stewart-Baines? Appeals for handball that are granted. Houston will make the change. It'll come at right wing back. Enrique Correa will vacate. He is replaced by the aforementioned Brugman. More attack-minded change. Perhaps Dynamo Dos shifting their formation as well. We'll see how this unfolds. Brugman, 16 years old, another Dynamo Academy player. A goal and an assist to his name this season. Both of which came in the thrashing of North Texas, in which Houston really announced themselves to the rest of the Western Conference. Opened the year with 8 goals in the first 2 matches. Batioha has been the danger man tonight for Dynamo Dos. Comes clear to Betancourt, tries from afar. It was not that far off. Well, why not have a pop? There's nobody within 5 yards. Puts a decent charge into this, does Betancourt. Just a little off frame, though. Copeland catches up to this. Low cross, comes to the near post, and Harris is denied. And it may have been blown back for out of bounds anyways. Well, the first question is, does this actually clear the touchline? It's very close, but immediately as Harris hits it, the referee blew his whistle. So it would not have stood anyways. We're just past the hour mark here at SaberCat Stadium. Sam Goldfarb bringing you all of the action on the outskirts of the Space City in Houston. No score between Dynamo Dos and Rapids 2. Colorado the better of the chances, but Houston a more promising start to this second 45. And still a lot of football left to be played on this Friday night. A very quaint Friday night weather-wise at that. Pinto. Charging forward. He's looking through to Harris. Ricocheting right back to Pedro Cruz. We've seen some really strong sides from Malik Pinto these last couple games. Of course, the equalizer, which Eric Boucher remarked he was particularly proud of. It was a moment of individual brilliance that brought Colorado level after a really questionable penalty allowed LAFC to open the scoring last week, and we've touched on that ad nauseum. He says he's still settling into the new environment, of course, beginning his career with FC Cincinnati and never truly being able to break into the consistent first team there. But here with Rapids too, has been a fixture in the 11 and providing plenty of punch going forward for the visitors tonight. Himself and Amadou really make up a nice pairing. Eric Boucher mentioning that Pintos had to make some sacrifices going forward. Has to pick his spots more because they need to play him deeper when they have an attacking mid in Bassett or Harris in the center of the park. But he picks his spots well to go forward and create danger, and we've seen a nice balance of that tonight. Long throw, it nearly came through to Batioha. And finally stabbed away. Kamani Stewart-Baines has two in support as well. Barrett recovering nicely. And still Stewart-Baines, low cross, nearly ran through to Harris, but didn't react in time. And right on your screen you see the new substitute, Lucas Brugman. He is very talented. Someone who not only has already scored this season as an academy player, but also a fixture in the U.S. Youth National Team ranks. Someone who received trials with Borussia Dortmund and Hoffenheim this past winter as well. He's garnering some attention. Cameron laying this off to Pinto! Just blasting it high. Another major chance for Rapids 2 goes begging. This is all created off the boots of Cameron. Wins it back, a terrific ball into the path of Pinto. He does have to take a touch, and maybe it's the footsteps of Bulma that put him off. Either way, perhaps a sigh of relief coming from Pedro Cruz between the sticks. Brugman. This is Batioha, the brightest bulb in Houston's cabinet at the moment. And the yellow is shown for the challenge. It'll be Cameron who's booked. Just the second man in the book combined across the two teams, both coming on Rapids 2's back line. Both Cameron and Harper have to walk the tightrope for the remainder of this contest. We have mentioned how this match could have major implications in the Western Conference, with these two teams being so tight, 4 teams level on 15 points. When you look around the rest of the West, this gets very interesting. Ventura County and LA tonight in El Trafichico, which probably is the standout fixture, could alter some things. You'd think that the team that drops points in this match would be looking over their shoulder a bit. The other matches in action as things stand are Eastern Conference teams, so no direct implications for either of these two sides. Here's a flick on header towards Harris. Right into the waiting Cruz's gloves. Only other Western Conference result of note tonight was a 1-0 victory for Portland Timbers 2 over Whitecaps 2. That's a result that has effect more around the playoff line than it does where both these teams are positioned in the top 6. Copeland. And now Bassett squirts it wide. Stewart-Baines. Effort rather tame in the end. It does mean that if we find a winner tonight, one of these two teams would go top of the West. Right now, as things stand, Dynamo Dos would go top on 16 points to break that 4-team deadlock. But multiple teams with matches in hand below them. Arzu loses out. And here's Chantak. Referee keeps his whistle intact. Bassett lays it off to Amadou. And nothing comes of it in the end. Well, for all the time out of possession, you have to give Dynamo Dos major credit. This is a team that battled some inconsistencies defensively. 11 goals allowed this season, right around the middle of the pack in that regard, and they were unlocked on a trio of occasions that definitely irked Marcelo Santos. A pair of goals in the second half that were just off giveaways against the press. They've minimized those avoidable concessions tonight. And their 5 back out of possession at times is proven quite obdurate. Now it's seemed to shift to more of a 4 and haven't lost much of their defensive intensity. A triple change being readied for Houston as they look to rectify the run of play. Andy Batioja, a promising performance. He will vacate for Jordi Burbano. Meanwhile, David Garcia and Gavin Wolf also getting set to enter. So wholesale as Coach Santos and company look to revolutionize the state of affairs. You see the changes on your screen. Burbano for Batioja.
May I have your attention, please? The 70th minute.
Garcia replacing an Orgiamfi up front in a like-for-like swap.
Leaving the field, number 11.
And then Gavin Wolf fills the void of Isaac Mwakatuya, one of the more experienced defenders in this back line for Houston Dynamo Dos, but still working his way back into the side after missing the first 4 games of the year. We'll see if any of these players can change the complexion of things. Garcia, 17 years old. Someone who missed the first 5 games of the year on international duty with Venezuela's U17s. Colorado pushing on. This is Kamani Stewart-Baines again. So much has flowed through his boots tonight. Pinto wants Chantak. He does run onto it briefly. Snatched back by Harper. Stewart-Baines tries for goal and denied at the near post. He drew Cruz in action. Colorado's first corner of the night coming. You know, worth a pop. Stewart-Baines manages to keep a couple defenders on his heels. It would have been really tough to finish from that angle, but at least calling Cruz into effect. It allows Bassett some target practice from the far side now. High arcing ball towards the near post. It's punched away. Only as far as Copeland. We're now inside the final 20 minutes. And reminder, if we finish level, this goes to a penalty shootout to determine who achieves that additional point in the MLS Next Pro standings. And when you look at last season, Houston Dynamo Dos sneaking into the playoffs on goal difference. Every point matters. So this could prove to be a very pivotal stretch. It's a Houston team that's never missed the playoffs in its previous 3 seasons of Next Pro membership. Last season, the closest of the bunch, though. Brugman finds Arzu. And an orange convoy carries forward. Can't pick out any fellow members of the onrushing Orange Crush. Copeland loses out this time. And Brugman sent tumbling again. An instant yellow card shown to Amadou. The third Rapid to be booked tonight. So down to Amadou. Himself, Cameron, and Harper, all of whom are still on the pitch. They have a yellow card to their names.
Have your attention, please, at the 74th minute.
Stuart Baines linking up well with Pinto here. We approach the final quarter of an hour. A pair of the hottest sides in MLS Next Pro playing to a deadlock at the minute. And what's most surprising is it's a pair of teams that rank inside the top 10 in goals scored in Next Pro. A Houston side that bangs in multiple goals with regularity has found itself pinned back for large spells of the night. And Colorado unable to unlock what has been a more obdurate back line for Houston in this second half. Here's Bourbano's first touch. And Garcia just runs it out of play. More chess pieces entering the action. A double change for Colorado. Stuart Baines will leave for Colton Swan in a like-for-like swap. Meanwhile, Mamadou Bilo-Diop replaces Alex Harris. The entire front line completely changed for Eric Boucher here. Harris had his chances. The golden opportunity before halftime that was knocked at Pedro Cruz. Himself and Stuart Baines probably the two most impactful players outside of Sam Bassett for Eric Boucher and his team. Now a pair of younger players out of the academy, both of whom have made an impact, and Bilo-Diop and Colton Swan enter. Both have experience starting. Bilo-Diop starting last week as the center forward, and he's not only incredibly physical force up front. Eric Boucher mentions how he's very unpredictable for defenses to read. Here is his first touch. Native of Dakar, Senegal, who made his way to the States to feature in the DME Academy last year and performed really well there. Earned his first pro contract with Rapids 2 on March 3rd as a result. Amadou. Copeland keeping this attack afloat and looking for Cameron to no avail. We also focus on Colton Swan, who's entered. Just turned 18 last Friday. Someone who's already scored 3 goals this season, so not a bad addition off the bench. A multi-time Next Pro Rising Star of the Match week as well. It's his brace against Austin, too, that really announced him to the rest of the Next Pro world. Scored once since as well in the form of a late winner in the North Texas match. As we head deeper into this, the question beckons, can anyone make a definitive change to the scoreline? It has been a cagey 77 and change so far, with moments of brilliance for both teams as Cruz is able to outwit the oncoming press. Bolma hunting the run of Exxon Arzu. He loses the foot race with Harper. Pinto. Bassett. A progressive ball to Bilo Diop. Tries for goal. And maybe wasn't the right decision. It is remarkable, regardless of result tonight, to see the turnaround of Rapids 2. And we've spoken about the struggles last season, but it's a team that ended the year with 9 consecutive matches winless. And that streak was extended to 11 matches, a very frustrating draw at Real Monarchs after falling in brutal fashion at Austin 2 to open the year. But boy, have they turned it around. It was 4-5 before the defeat Sunday. Still a chance to put themselves back in the win column tonight. Though Houston has knocked it about with a bit more ferocity as this is worn on. Urbano gives chase. It's not clearly dealt with by Cameron just yet. Garcia. Brought down by Pinto. The referee waves away, appeals for a free kick. Now Swan the other direction. And this is where Colorado is so dangerous. Bilo Diop in space. Just ran out of real estate on the far side. Final 10 minutes of the 90. And with each passing second, penalties becomes a more sobering reality. Swan. Tucking it inside to Bassett. Lays it off to Pinto. Punched away by Cruz. Expertly done by the 21-year-old goalkeeper. Bassett. Chantak. Early cross in. It was a loose touch from Swan. And finally, the whistle sounds against Dauda Amadou. Before this match comes to a close, it is important to note all referees throughout MLS Next Pro and beyond this month wearing blue wristbands to honor former referee Terry Vaughn, who struggled with Huntington's disease throughout his career, but did not let it limit his ability to officiate matches. Someone who made an impact on so many rising officials throughout this country before his passing in 2023. And throughout May, these last few years, referees wearing that blue armband to commemorate his memory. Bassett is sent tumbling. And the referee says play on. One more change for Colorado, and Josh Ballew's getting set to enter the fray. He's been a mainstay in defense for large spells this year. A physical presence, 6'5", but did not enjoy his best 90 minutes on Sunday. One of the penalties, you could argue, was very cleanly won and probably should not have been called. With the second, a handball that made the 90 minutes a bit more difficult to stomach. Change comes in the heart of defense. Kofi Sinanu will vacate. And Josh Ballew's getting a chance to build some confidence over these final 8 minutes and change. Someone who excelled with CF Montreal, his boyhood club, in the Canadian Championship during his time in the academy ranks. And then went to college, spent 4 years at Syracuse before playing a key role on a Syracuse side that reached the second round of the NCAA tournament. It was 4 years at Nova, and then the year after the Orange won the national title, he was a key presence at center back. So Ballew's for Sinanu, a pair of players with significant experience and significant success. during their respective college careers. Rodriguez has been forced relatively deep in his own half for large spells tonight. This is one of those key moments of the match where things hang on a knife edge that Marcelo Santos discussed with me this week. Throughout the year, in his mind, they've done so well to execute and create winning chances in those moments. Apart from Sunday, there is a major opportunity to rectify that slight lull at the weekend. Arzu is dragged down to the deck. Puna. It's a loose pass out, one that fortuitously returns his way. Pinto. Bassett now, and they will go back to the earlier foul. Instant yellow card from our official, Luis Arroyo, who's managed a pretty sound match tonight. Could things change on a set piece? It is Sam Bassett, who's been a connoisseur in these scenarios. Does he have another quality delivery in his locker? Towards the back post. Falls for Bilo Diop. Headed on, and somehow doesn't cross the line. It looked like Josh Balluz had surely won it. But a very unfortunate hop prevents Colorado from breaking the deadlock. Well, he had Cruz beaten. Unfortunately for him, did not have the far post beaten. And we remain level here in Houston. I don't call it a match of inches for nothing. By the way, the yellow card shown was against Sebastian Rodriguez, the first Houston man to be cautioned tonight. It was an excellently worked set piece. Played directly to Bilo Diop. Cruz can't rescue it from a corner. And this may be the moment that defines the match. A sensational delivery. Bilo Diop picks out Balluz perfectly. He kisses it off the inside of the post, but somehow can't escort it over the goal line. And it has been that kind of match for both sides tonight. Neither team unable to put the finishing touches on it. Inside the final 3 minutes of the 90. Time rapidly waning on both of these sides. It is Bassett who stands over this corner. An outswing. It's charged away at the near post. And only as far as Bassett. And Barrett putting his body in the way expertly. Cameron now taking it to the corner. Everyone on Rapids 2 beyond midfield for a brief moment. It's a clear statement of intent as they chase this. But right now, Houston in line to surge atop the Western Conference table by the end of the night. A draw would be enough to do so and break that 14 deadlock at 15 points. It may not be the defining result they would like, but it would certainly assist their cause. Swan snatches this off Arzu. Only briefly, though. Hearing word it will just be 2 minutes of added time. Below Gia, and he lost his footing. Well, you give major credit to Pedro Cruz. Has been under fire for large spells of this match and has hardly put a foot wrong tonight. And now the question is, can he outlast Rapids 2 for that additional point in a shootout? Because that is what quickly stares them in the face. Just 2 minutes of added time separate us from PKs. Urbano is sent flying. And now Swan giving chase. Cruz definitively claims. Amadou dispossessed. And this is Brugman. He's hunting the run of Bolma. Rodriguez. And now Burbano. Can Houston steal it at the death? Puna nearly lost out. And we'll come back to the earlier coming together now. This may be the last chance of the match for either of these two sides. And it has not been the brightest display for either team. But Houston could change the mood in the dressing room rather quickly, with one standout moment here. It is Gavin Wolf who stands over it, the substitute. Former Austin FC Academy product. Sprayed wide. Arzu onto it. Wrestling with Bilo Gia. Appeals for penalty. They go ignored, and it's just a corner for Dynamo Dos. We are now beyond the final 2 minutes, and this surely is the final chance for the hosts. It is Josh Bolma to take, the 23-year-old. Arzu. Back for Bolma. Chipping it towards the back stick. Burbano. Cameron muscles it off it, and there goes the full-time whistle. Well, 90 minutes in which both teams had half chances, but both will leave frustrated. It finishes 0-0 after 90 minutes, and a penalty shootout beckons to determine an additional point in the Western Conference table. Colorado had a number of major moments. They'll probably leave the less content of the two sides. But you have to give major credit to Houston, obdurate at the back, and Pedro Cruz hardly putting a foot or palm wrong in the match this evening. We will take a quick breather, and educate you on the rules surrounding penalties in MLS Next Pro.
Should be a fun season of MLS Next Pro.
At the end of regulation, since the teams are tied on the scoreboard, the match will extend to a shootout, with each team having 5 attempts. If the teams are tied after 5 attempts, they will go to sudden death. The shootout winner will receive an extra point in the regular season standings.
Well, there are the rules surrounding MLS Next Pro and penalties. Obviously, if you win, you get 3 points. If you lose, you get none. But this is where we are. An additional point on the line in the Western Conference table. Both teams with at least a point, but the winner here will have 2 by the end of the night, which, of course, could assist come October when postseason positioning is up for grabs. So after 90 minutes of scorelessness, we do find ourselves in a position to see the ball hit the net. It's just a question of which team will leave here with that extra point. It's 2 teams that are rather inexperienced when it comes to shootouts this year. A Houston side that has never been in spot kicks prior to tonight. A Rapids 2 side that found itself caught at the death against Real Monarchs, a team that was down to 9 men, and they fell on penalties. That came on March 23rd. So neither team has been in this scenario rather recently. We will see who can shake off the ring rust quicker. Well, even in nights like this, where both teams may feel it was rather underwhelming by their respective standards, there is a chance to leave here on a positive note beyond just that point in the table. If they can notch a second, it is an added layer of consolation and obviously could go a long way come October when teams find themselves in a dead heap for the playoffs, especially when you look at Houston last year, sneaking in on goal difference. Penalties played a role in that achievement. And when you look at the top of the West as well, there is almost nothing to separate teams from 1 to 4 in the standings. So these additional points could do wonders. Regardless, as things stand, Dynamo Dos is top of the Western Conference by a point. They'll hope to extend it to 2 by the end of this shootout. Rapids 2 still sit 6th. If they win this shootout, they would move just a point behind Houston into the top 5. Just about set for spot kicks, and as Pedro Cruz's first taste of it this season, Zach Campagnolo gets his second experience in penalties. It will be Lucas Brugman who will take the first penalty for Dynamo Dos. A substitute who provided bright moments off the bench tonight. A 16-year-old Dynamo Academy product taking his first attempt of the season. He did not attempt one in his 2 substitute appearances in 2024. Brugman against Campagnolo, a pair of teenagers squaring off to open this penalty shootout. Starter step, and with aplomb, he dispatches it. A strong start to the shootout for Brugman and company. Well, it's the stutter step. He forces Campagnolo to pick a side and then just tucks it in the opposite one. It is an expertly taken penalty from a 16-year-old. And now it is a bit of rookie and vet action. Malik Pinto, who's been in a number of these shootouts throughout his career, will start the shootout for Rapids 2. He converted his only spot kick of the year. It came against Real Monarchs in late March. So Pinto against Cruz. A long run up, and in the same spot Brugman put it. We're all square through 1 round. Well, it's a Vitinha-style approach for those who watch the Champions League this week. Very long, waits for the keeper to tip his hand, and then just tucks it the opposite direction. A pair of well-taken penalties to begin the night. So that sets Josh Bolma up at the spot with a chance to provide advantage to Houston once more. 23 years old, experienced in MLS Next Pro during his time with Revolution 2. And Bolma rolls it in. It's 3 really comfortably taken penalties. No trickery, just placement. Bolma makes no mistakes. Again, long run up in the hop step. Jorginho-like, forces Campagnolo to dive and then just comfortably tucks it in. And now Colton Swan will head to the spot, hoping to exercise some demons from a few months past. Missing his penalty against Real Monarchs. His only attempt of the year to date. And Swan bashes it in. First time we've seen any semblance of power. And the fist pump to boot. Slight placement, but he does opt for a bit of ferocity behind it. And well taken by Swan, as we are all square through 2 rounds now. And Jordi Bourbano hoping to continue the trend of 4 consecutive made penalties to begin the shootout. Someone who was not selected to the squad for the first 5 matches of the year, but scored the match winner against Whitecaps 2 in late April. His first penalty of the year. Bourbano drives it in. That one nearly burned a hole in the back of the net. Well, the Ecuadorian just puts his laces through it. Campagnolo guesses the wrong way and pays the price. And so Mamadou Bilo Diop, the substitute, heads to the spot. 18 years of age. He attempts his first penalty of his next pro career. Can he keep it at 100% for Rapids too? Yes, he can. No unnecessary flair, just confidence. And he's 3 for 3. Rolling it comfortably into the bottom right. And we are still all level through 3 rounds. Noah Betancourt looking to keep up that trend for Houston. Another academy product. Native of Katy, Texas, who has yet to attempt a penalty, committed to Ohio State University in the fall. Betancourt against Campagnolo. And nearly caught up to it, but still finds the back of the net. None of these penalties have a lot of steam behind them. Everyone opting for placement, but everyone making the right decisions. And despite Campagnolo diving the right way, he's unable to reach it. So it sets up Sam Bassett, someone who's one of the elder statesmen in this Rapids 2 squad, but has not been exposed to many Next Pro penalty shootouts. This is his first penalty of his professional career. Knows a thing or two about hitting the back of the net, though. Bassett against Cruz to keep it level through 4 rounds. And Bassett drives it in. Puts some altitude behind it, and it's beyond the reach of Cruz, who guesses the right way. It's a stutter step, and then he just floats it beyond the reach of Pedro Cruz, and it does the trick. And so now into the 5 spot, where, in theory, these 2 teams have one of their better penalty takers positioned. Sebastian Rodriguez, the 17-year-old who has been exposed to this Next Pro environment for a fair bit now. His first penalty of the season, but has been a mainstay throughout the 11. And comfortably right down the middle. 5 for 5 for Houston, flawless. Now they'll be hoping to take care of business on the other side. Did put his laces through it. It just bounced beyond the reach of Campagnolo, who dove the wrong way anyways. And now the pressure falls on the captain. Dauda Amadou must score to keep Rapids in the shootout. Hasn't attempted a penalty this year, but buried his only attempt last year against Austin 2 in early June. Amadou against Cruz. Shootout hangs in the balance. It's off the post. Houston wins the shootout and secures an additional point in the standings. Cruz may have had it covered anyways, but it won't matter. Dynamo Dos 2 points clear atop the Western Conference tonight. Celebrations for Houston. It was not their dream performance. They found themselves on the back foot for large spells tonight, but it will not matter. They are 2 points clear atop the West. Meanwhile, Colorado Rapids 2 will stay put in 6th. It's now time for our man of the match. It is none other than the man who dispatched the winning PK, Sebastian Rodriguez. It was taken with confidence and aplomb. He sends Campagnolo the wrong way and rolls it down the middle. Nerves of steel for the 17-year-old as his goalkeeper, Pedro Cruz and company, celebrate 2 points on a night where maybe the performance wasn't perfect, but still seeing out a result. For our entire MLS Next Pro broadcast crew, I'm Sam Goldfarb. Once again, our final score is 0-0 with Houston prevailing 5-4 after spot kicks. Don't forget you can watch MLS Next Pro all season long at MLS Season Pass on Apple TV and MLSNextPro.com. Have a great rest of your night, everyone. Houston is 2 points clear atop the West.
This copyrighted broadcast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.